we still do appreciate your involvement in this, and actually I would suggest to you that if there's anybody here today at the table that would have a new policy or a new strategy that's being developed that impacts the region, we would like to see that presented to DFO as a co-chair, or to myself as a co-chair of the secretary, to ensure that that's identified and put on the council's agenda at some time. That just lists the major departments. I won't read those. I think you can probably go through those and see where you may fit. And the concerns from the government review were around ensuring no duplication of existing processes, and do not add another layer of bureaucracy within the decision-making processes that we already have, that we feel are pretty adequate for our legislation and our mandates. The feedback really is there is no process that is similar to this, in that we have a multi-stakeholder advisory committee providing advice to government. There's several pieces of legislation and or programs have a review process within the legislation, but it's the community felt there was not a multi-stakeholder approach to providing input. There was a perception of setting up something new during a period of government renewal, and restraint was a concern by government. The Advisory Council's role and scope needed to be clearly delimited. There was concerns about the scope of what the Advisory Council wanted to do. Initially, they wanted to have an input into the approval of all applications for all activities, and at the end of the day, it was refined to, you will have an opportunity to review all policies and strategies that actually govern how these activities will take place. So it's felt that at a higher level, they will have a greater influence, and it's easier for us to manage and for them to feel secure that they've had an actual input into the process of decision making. And we will see as time goes on. And government suggested to change the name from a council to a committee. So going forward, we've agreed, governments remain committed to enhancing community input and decision making through the establishment of a 3-year pilot initiative, creating the Southwestern New Brunswick Marine Advisory Committee, and the continuation of the government secretariat to support the initiative. We changed the terms of reference, and that was more specific for the committee, maybe rather than this presentation, but it is co-chaired by our Deputy Minister of Department of Agriculture and Fisheries, and the Maritimes Regional Director of Fisheries and Oceans, with a citizen co-chair. A citizen co-chair is yet to be named. We have a candidate, but we have to take it back to the committee at our next meeting to have it officially endorsed. We had talked about establishing a committee that was similar to a forestry committee in the province that DNR established, and we found that the terms of reference fit that quite well. We modified that a bit. We were looking originally at having up to 10 meetings a year. We've suggested that we will now, where we're going at a higher level approach, policy and strategic approach, to have it as a 3 times a year. And we have expanded the membership from 12 from the original committee to 15 to ensure better cross-sector input and review. Annual performance reporting, our former Deputy Minister, Jean-Marc, was quite concerned about having measurables, and I think DFO supported that aspect as well, because they had gone through their ESIP process and came up with some indicators, was concerned about the measurable indicators as a result of going through this process. We've indicated that this is only a 3-year trial basis, because we want to make sure that the committee feels this has been successful, and government agencies want to say, well, this did add value, or we did find value in taking this approach to management of activities in the Bay of Fundy. So there will be a report at the end of the time to evaluate that. So it'll be a two-way street, not just government saying yes, it was good, or no, it was bad. We didn't like what we heard from the committee, it wasn't effective, and the committee will tell us, well, yes, you really did make changes as a result of having this committee, so that there is value for the money. There is not a big budget for this process. I would suggest to you, originally we had budgets probably between $50,000 and $100,000 per year for the activities that was associated with this, and that includes them in kind. We're looking at only about, I would say, $5,000 or $6,000. So the cost to carry this forward, and that's subject to change based on the outcome of the advisory committee's meetings. If there is some flexibility in that. So we had to identify what were the expected outcomes, and this was more for the committee. So the expected outcome from government was that it actually does provide recommendations to the federal and provincial governments on relevant policies, processes, strategic matters, or issues of significant issue to the public related to new and existing activities from a non-sector community-based perspective. And it uses the community values criteria as a decision-making support tool. A key component of the whole process was development of this community's values criteria that was established. It's a integrated approach to looking at ecosystem, cultural, social, and economic parameters or criteria in making a recommendation regarding a policy. Have these things been identified in the policy? Does it cover it all? We'd like to know how it addresses that, and they will do an evaluation against that. We are actually trying to develop a template for those that are presenting new policies to the group to suggest that they see that their policy does address the criteria established in this community values criteria matrix. And when presented, the presenter knows what the committee is looking for, and the committee can quickly say, yes, we agree that you have considered this, or you know you haven't considered this, or really it's not really applicable in this case. And the Marine Advisory Committee, their expected outcome is, again, using local knowledge and developing a recommendation and advice. That's one of the issues that we really have to, or the components that we need to address properly. How do we make sure that the people at the table are speaking on behalf of the committee? We've talked about different approaches to doing that. We've talked about press releases. We've talked about the individual going around in the community, making sure that what's being proposed for the agenda has been discussed. We had talked about having listening sessions on very important issues, but we dropped that component of it. And we want to make sure that there really is interaction between the community and the advisory committee member. And it should, at the end of the day, we should feel that adds value. Oops. And from a government's perspective, I guess there's a real sincerity that we have enhanced citizen engagement in our policy development and implementation. And at the same time, we want to, one of the big issues that we had at the beginning of this process in 2004, where the government's not transparent in how it makes its decision and or policies. And we as a government want to open that up to ensure that the committee and community members are aware of policies, how they're developed, and that their voice is actually heard and actually is represented in the recommendation coming to, and aware of how government responded to that recommendation. This was one of the key points that the committee wanted as a result of this process.
Quick question.
Sure.
On your slide before, in terms of representation of the knowledge of the community, local
Yes.
knowledge, when you're creating policy and strategies, you have to have more than local knowledge. So who's responsible for helping that advisory committee understand the regional context, the provincial context, and/or national context, so that they understand how it all fits together to provide their comments about initiatives moving forward.
You bring up a very good point in terms of what does the local group do with a national policy or province-wide policy. And who's responsible for that? The Secretariat members. Okay? And the Secretariat members and those that would come forward presenting the policy. Okay? For example, I will pick on Rob Capozzi here. If Department of Environment is going to bring out a revision to the Coastal Areas Protection Policy, that's a provincial policy, he'll come forward to the committee and identify this is the proposed approach that we as a province want to take in renewing this policy. And we seek your input into this, but this is a provincial one. One of the concerns that I had in particular, and I was a little bit, I will admit, concerned about the federal card being played. Okay, we go to a committee meeting, we have the Regional Maritimes RDG prepared to meet with the group, and they're listening to it, and what's being recommended doesn't fit with a national approach. Okay, and that's exactly what you're talking about. And I had concern, and in fact that was kind of brought up a couple times, and we even suggested, you know, maybe it's on the odd occasion we'll have somebody from Iowa come down just to listen in, but we didn't have that. However, I have to confess too that I'd be a hypocrite to suggest that we didn't have province-wide issues regarding policies. In fact, that was one of the concerns about developing this committee. Is you're developing this committee? Well, it needs to be done in the northern part of the province, and it should be done in the Northumberland Strait. That's the rationale for this being a 3-year trial project to see how it actually rolls out.
One example that I was thinking of is that at one point in time we were in the process of renegotiating infrastructure dollars.
Yes.
And we were working with the province on a certain position. And after talking to Ottawa, I was informed if you take that position, this is what it means for other regions. But if you take another position, it means more for our region versus others. And I want to get into all the details, but it kind of opened my eyes on a national basis what the equation that we were suggesting and the province was suggesting and what it really meant in the bigger picture. So that's where I was kind of trying to get to, is understanding some of the decisions and how it fits in the bigger picture, because you might make a different one if you understand that context.
Yes. And the Marine Protected Area framework is a good example of that. We have I have to be careful with this, national, federal, Tim. Marine Protected Area framework for the establishment of the Marine Protected Areas in Canada, but that's written at a high enough level. There's flexibility in the region to develop your own network, and that's exactly the process that's being taken. We have a meeting next week in the Shediac on the Shediac Valley MPA, and Tim is just anxiously waiting to get a meeting date with me to talk about marine protected areas in the Bay of Fundy to see how we'll do that on the New Brunswick side. I think maybe in Nova Scotia he's already had some dialogue on that. There's an MOU that addresses marine protection